Hi guys, I'm Erjan Salamat from the Mathematical Society of Mapúa. And last time, kung naaalala nyo, we launched Project Mathanong wherein we opened a form wherein you can ask us questions or unclear concepts na sasagutin namin. And for this video, ayon, we will answer some of the questions that you have posted. And disclaimer, for now, we cannot really accommodate all of your questions. So for now, we just chose 3 questions out of the questions na pinost nyo dun sa, or sinubmit nyo dun sa form natin. Ayan. So for our first question, ayan. So may nagtanong about domain and range. So medyo unclear pa raw yung domain and range. So medyo review lang tayo sa senior high na Gen Math natin. Ayan. So first of all, punta muna tayo sa definition ng domain and range. So the domain of a function is the set of all values for which the function is defined. And the range of the function is the set of all values that f takes. So basically, when we say domain, in much simpler terms, pag domain is siya yung lahat ng possible values ng x. So lahat ng pwede in which madedefine yung function mo. So pag naging undefined yung function mo with that value of x, ibig sabihin, hindi siya kasama sa domain. And when you say range, basically, siya naman yung magiging value ng y using the domain. So when you substitute the values of x, all the possible values of x, yung range is yung magiging possible values of y. So basically, domain and range, sila yung mga possible values of x and y respectively. So one way of finding the range of a rational function is finding the domain of the inverse function. So recall din natin sa senior high natin na math, in finding the range, we first need to get the inverse of the function. And yung domain ng inverse function, yun yung magiging range nung original mo na function. Okay, so mamaya mas i-discuss natin siya. And another way is to sketch the graph and identify the range. Ayun, so kung marunong kayong mag-graph, so dapat marunong kayong mag-graph. Kasi, ayun, mas makakatulong yan in finding the domain and range kung kaya nyo i-graph yung given na function. Kasi minsan, may mga functions na mahirap kunin yung inverse or walang inverse. So, kailangan talaga is i-graph mo siya to get their domain and the range. Ayan. So, for our first example, ayan, find the domain and range. So, madali muna, of the function f of x equals x squared minus 1. So, kung maalala nyo, yung definition ng domain na binigay natin is all possible values of x. Okay. So, kung mapapansin nyo, sa function na to is yung x is in square natin. So, x was squared and then from that, nag-subtract tayo ng 1. And kung iisipin nyo is kahit ano namang value, pwede mong square. Diba? Kahit 0, kahit negative number, positive number, kahit gano'ng kalaking number, pwede mong square and pwede mong bawasan ng 1. Okay? Ibig sabihin, from this function, ang domain mo is all real numbers. Okay? Kasi kahit anong value ng x, pwede mo i-substitute dito and defined yung magiging sagot. Okay? So, in this kind of notation, ang magiging domain mo is from negative infinity to positive infinity. Or, ayun nga, all real numbers yung domain mo. And if we check the graph, ayan, ito kasi yung graph natin is a parabola facing upwards. Kung makikita nyo yung value ng x, ayan, so di ba ito yung x natin? Ayan, kung makikita nyo, yung x is nag-extend siya to the right. Kasi ito, di ba syempre, yung parabola na to is extending pa yan pa ganyan. And same with this, nag-extend yan pa ganyan. So basically, ito yung magiging x value mo, 'di ba? From negative infinity to positive infinity. So mako-cover niya lahat in terms of value of x. Okay? So when we say pagdating naman sa range, 'di ba kanina sinabi natin na to get the range, we first need to get the inverse of the function. And yung domain ng inverse, yun yung range ng function. So, kung ito yung function natin, kung naaalala nyo pa, paano kumuha ng inverse, isi-switch natin yung y and x. Okay, so nakikita nyo, yung y dito is naging x, and yung x, naging y. And then after switching x and y, we need to solve for y. Okay, so solving for y, lipat natin sa kabilang side yung negative 1. Then, square root natin both sides. Then, y is equal to square root of x plus 1. Inverse of our function would be square root of x plus 1. And, ano magiging domain natin ngayon? 'Di ba kanina kasi yung function natin na x squared minus 1, yung domain natin is all real numbers. Why? Kasi wala naman siyang restriction. Any number, pwede mong i-square and then subtract by 1. Pero in this case, mapapansin nyo, square root of x plus 1, di ba? Well, any number, pwede kang mag-add ng 1 to any number. But the thing is, hindi lahat ng numbers is pwede mong i-square root. Why? Ang magiging exemption natin is negative numbers. Right? Kasi ang square root ng negative numbers is imaginary numbers. So, dapat i-restrict natin yon sa domain natin. Therefore, etong loob na to, yung loob ng square root, which is x plus 1, it should be greater than or equal to 0. Why? Kasi pwede naman, yung 0, pwede mo siya i-square root, which is 0. Pero pag nag-negative na, yun talaga hindi pwede. Therefore, yung loob, x plus 1, should be greater than or equal to 0. Okay, and solving for this, we have x is greater than or equal to negative 1. Okay, so ito na yung magiging domain natin. So writing it in this notation like this, ang domain natin is from negative 1 to infinity. So ano pinagkaiba ng dalawang bracket na to? So pag ganito yung ginamit nating bracket, it means kasama yung negative 1 mismo. Okay. So, starting from negative 1 itself. Kasi, sabi dito, x is greater than or equal to negative 1. Pero, pag ang ginamit mo dito is greater than lang, walang equal to. So, for example, we have x is greater than negative 1. Ang domain mo, ang gagamitin mo dito is yung parenthesis. Yung normal na parenthesis. Katulad dito. Okay. Pero since kasama yung negative 1, ganitong bracket yung gagamitin natin. So for infinity, laging parenthesis lang. Kasi lagi lang naman tayo nag-approach to infinity. Hindi naman natin gagamitin yung mismong value na infinity. So laging approaching infinity lang. So now that we have the domain of the inverse, and katulad na sinabi natin kanina, the domain of the inverse is the range of the function. Therefore, we have our domain and range here. Okay, so ayun, importante lang na marunong kayong kumuha ng inverse or marunong kayong mag-graph. Okay, so itong graph na to, ginraph ko siya sa Desmos. Kung hindi pa kayo familiar, search nyo lang Desmos, D-E-S-M-O-S. Graphing calculator siya online. Sa browser lang siya, hindi mo na kailangan i-download. So ito ginagamit ko pang check ng mga graphs kung tama ba yung mga graphs ko. So, you just need to enter the equation and lalabas na yung graph mo. Okay, so for our second problem about domain and range is ganun ulit, find the domain and range of the function f of x is equal to 2 over x minus 3. So again, tingnan natin ano ba yung possible values ng x. So in this case, since meron tayong x sa denominator, di ba, ang denominator natin is bawal mag-0. Kasi magiging infinity yung sagot or magiging undefined yung sagot natin. That's why ang magiging restriction natin is x minus 3 or yung buong denominator should not be equal to 0. Or solving for x should not be equal to 0. So, yun yung magiging scope ng domain natin. Ibig sabihin, all real numbers ay pwede except 3. Okay? So, in the notation na ginagamit natin kanina or the interval notation, ganito siya. So, from negative infinity, approaching 3. Okay? So, nakita nyo, ganitong parenthesis lang yung ginamit natin. Why? Kasi hindi kasama yung 3, di ba? Kasi x is not equal to 3. Ibig sabihin, hanggang 2.999999. So, approaching 3, but not the value of 3 itself. Okay, and union 3 to infinity. So, from negative infinity to approaching 3, and then from 3 to between 3 and positive infinity. So, lahat ng values na yun pwede. Now, in getting the range, again, kukunin natin yung inverse ng function. So, pagpalitin natin yung x and y, then we solve for y. So, we multiply both sides by y minus 3. And then, now we distribute x dito. Magiging xy minus 3x equals 2. Now, syempre, isolate natin yung y. So, magiging y is equal to 2 plus 3x over x. So, ito na yung inverse ng function natin. 2 plus 3x over x. So now we need to get the domain of this function. So again, unlike kanina, di ba, may square root tayo. Ngayon is fraction lang. Sorry. So, ang magiging restriction natin is denominator should not be equal to 0 or x should not be equal to 0. Therefore, ang domain ng inverse natin would be ayan, negative infinity, 0, union, 0, positive infinity. Okay, and again, the domain of the inverse is the range of the function. So we have our domain and range. Okay. So, basta ang technique lang sa domain is kailangan alam mo yung mga restriction. So, katulad kanina, pag square root, yung laman ng square root should be greater than or equal to 0. Dahil bawal ka mag-square root ng negative numbers. And then, pag fraction naman, yung denominator mo should not be equal to 0. So, ang usual lang naman is yon square root, then fraction. Pag ln naman is dapat yung loob ng ln, yung laman ng ln. So, let's say for example, ln of 3x minus 1. So, yung laman ng ln should be greater than 0. Okay, kasi hindi ka pag tinry nyo, i-calculate nyo, ln of 0 is math error. So, dapat 3x minus 1, ang magiging domain mo is 3x minus 1 is greater than 0. Ayan. So, for the next topic, yung next unclear concept na sinubmit sa atin is derivatives daw of logarithmic functions. So, first of all, syempre, let's look at the formulas na gagamitin natin, which are this. So, basically, itong first two, yan, and then yung itong dalawang to is pareho lang. So, yung first is ito, derivative of ln x is 1 over x. Ito naman is, pagka function na yung laman, pag function na, ln of a function. So, when we say ln of a function, itong laman mo is pwedeng x plus 1, pwedeng sin x, pwedeng e raised to x, pwedeng x squared plus 3x. So, hindi lang siya x, basta kumbaga mas complicated na yung laman niya. Ito lang siya, 1 over the function times the derivative of the function. So, kung mas familiar kayo, ito is actually u. Diba? So, much more common notation is 1 over u. Diba? Kung mas familiar kayo, 1 over u du. Okay, so same with this. The logarithm of x base a, ang derivative nun is ito, 1 over x ln a. However, pag function na yung laman ng log mo, any function, or let's say u, so magiging 1 over u ln of a du. Yan, usually kasi mas familiar tayo sa paggamit ng u, di ba? Kasi may tinatawag yung u substitution. Ayan, so ayun yung formulas na kailangan natin for logarithmic function. So let's proceed. So find the derivative of y equals log of 1 minus 3x base 2. So katulad niyan, di ba? Hindi lang siya x, function na yung laman niya. So ito yung gagamitin natin. Wherein, katulad na sinabi ko nga, ito ay u. Para mas familiar kayo, ito is u. And ito is du. Okay. So, using u substitution, ayan, ito yung magiging u mo, 1 minus 3x, ayan, u equals 1 minus 3x. And then, pag differentiate mo to, du would be negative 3 dx. And a is yung base mo. Ito, which is this one. Which league? MLB or Nippon Professional Baseball? Ayan, a equals 2. So, from that, magiging ganitong form na siya, di ba? Log of u base a, which is actually similar to this one na. So, pwede na nating masabi na ang y prime natin is 1 over u ln of a du from the formula. Okay? And then, substituting, we have, ayan, y prime would be 1 over, ang u natin is ito, 1 minus 3x, a is 2, and du is negative 3. Okay, so, somehow, substitution lang siya. And simplifying, we have negative 3 over 1 minus 3x ln of 2. Ayan. So, usually, pwede na yung final answer na yan. Kahit hindi mo na-evaluate yung ln of 2. Okay. So, for our next problem, we have an ln naman. But we can see it's naka fourth root. So, ito again yung formula for ln, or 1 over u du, diba? So, ito, we can write this as, ayan, diba? Y is equal to ln of 3x plus 1 raised to 1/4. So, bago natin gamitin yung function for ln, we can let this as u raised to 1/4, diba? So, we have a form of u raised to n, which is, pag differentiate natin is u raised, ibababa natin yung exponent, diba? Magiging n raised to, n times u raised to n minus 1. So, yung part na yon is ito. Diba? So, bababa natin exponent, 1/4, and then, copy natin yung u, ln of 3x plus 1, raised to, ito is 1/4 minus 1, kaya naging negative 3/4, times the derivative of u, which in this case, ang ginawa natin u is ln of 3x plus 1. Diba? So, focusing on this part, derivative ng ln of 3x plus 1, saka natin ngayon gagamitin yung formula na 1 over u du, wherein ang u natin is 3x plus 1 and du would be 3. Therefore, ang derivative of ng ln of 3x plus 1 would be equal to 1 over u du, or 1 over 3x plus 1, u equals 3x plus 1, diba? And du is equal to 3. And simplifying it, we have, ayan, pag sinubstitute natin siya dito, ayan, ito, sinubstitute natin siya dito, we have, ayan, 1/4 ln of 3x plus 1 raised to negative 3 over 4 times 1 over 3x plus 1 times 3. So, pag sinimplify natin siya, ito na siya. So, pinagsama ko lang lahat into one fraction. Since ito naka-negative yung exponent, pwede nyong ibaba kung gusto nyo or pwede rin namang hindi na. Usually acceptable naman na yung ganyang answer. Okay, so for the next problem is, we have another natural logarithm. Okay, so ito naman is gagamitin na natin siya ng properties of natural log. So bukod dito sa formula natin na 1 over u du, i-recall natin itong mga formulas na to. So although log yung nakalagay dito, applicable din siya sa ln. Okay, so ln of m times n. Okay, so pag may product ka sa loob nung ln mo, pwede mo siya ihiwalay into ln of m plus ln of n. Okay? Pagka naman fraction, m over n, yung loob, pwede mo siya ihiwalay as ln of m minus naman. Okay? Minus ln of n. Pero pag naman meron tayong exponent dito, pwede nating ibaba yung exponent sa tabi or sa left side ng ln. So, if we have ln of m raised to p, we can write it as p ln of m. Okay, so same property lang yung log and ln in this case. So, going back to our problem, we have ln of 2x plus 1 raised to 4 over 1 minus x raised to 3. So, kung makikita natin, una natin mapapansin is itong fraction, right? So, we can apply this formula, where ang m natin is, or yung numerator natin is 2x plus 1 raised to 4, and ang n is the denominator, which is 1 minus x cubed. Okay, so we can write it as ln of m, or ito yan, ito yung numerator natin, minus ln of the denominator, since fraction siya. And ngayon, actually, pwede mo na siya i-differentiate that way, kasi ito lang naman yung mahirap i-differentiate eh. Since magko-quotient rule ka, then meron ka pang exponent, diba? So, matatagalan ka. Kung gusto mo na siya i-differentiate dito, pwede naman na. Hindi na siya ganun kahirap. Pero kung gusto mo pang mas madali, i-differentiate, pwede natin gamitin ito namang exponent, di ba? Since naka-exponent siya, itong 4 and yung 3, pwede natin siyang ibaba para maging 4 ln of 2x plus 1 minus 3 ln of 1 minus x. Again, yung mga formulas na to are property yan. Property yan ng ln and ng log. So, pwede mo talaga siyang gawin. Legal yon. Okay, since property talaga siya. So, from here, since naka-simplify na siya or na-expand na natin siya into this form, mas madali na siyang i-differentiate kesa sa original niyang form. So, from here, we can use 1 over u, 1 over u du. So, labas lang natin yung constant, which is 4. And then, ang 1 over u natin is 1 over 2x plus 1. Then, ang derivative ng 2x plus 1 is 2. Okay? Then, same with this. Labas natin yung negative 3. Then, 1 over u, where ang u natin is 1 minus x. And ang derivative ng 1 minus x is negative 1. And then, simplifying it, we have 8 over 2x plus 1 plus 3 over 1 minus x. So, if you want, pwede mo pa siyang pagsamahin sa isang fraction. Gamitan mo ng LCD. Or, pwede na rin naman itong ganitong form. Usually, acceptable naman na to. So, depende na rin sa prof. Okay. So, that's all for logarithmic functions. And for the final question na nakuha natin, final concept na i-discuss natin for Project Mathanong is we have implicit differentiation. So first, ano ba ang pinagkaiba ng explicit sa implicit? So when we say explicit, visible agad yung value ng y. So lagi siyang sa form ng y equals a function of x. Diba? So kung makikita natin yung left side mo, yung one side mo is y, yung one side mo is puro x lang. Okay, so ganito rin, y equals a function of x. Ganun siya. Kumbaga, when you have a value of x, makukuha mo agad yung value ng y by direct substitution lang. Unlike implicit functions, when you say implicit, makikita mo, hindi mo malalaman agad yung value ng y. Katulad nito, when you have a value of x, hindi mo agad masasolve yung value ng y directly kasi may y ka dito, may y ka rin dito. Diba? So, kailangan mo pa siyang i-solve. Katulad nito, may y ka dito, may y ka dito. So, hindi siya naka-form na y equals a function of x. Kumbaga, halo-halo siya dun sa equation. So, ito yung i-differentiate natin ngayon. Sa implicit differentiation. So, for our first problem, we have x squared plus y squared minus x sine of x plus y equals 3. So, kung makikita nyo, halo siya, yung x and y, diba, sa isang side. So, implicit siya. Kasi, definitely, you can't solve the value of y or hindi mo madedetermine yung kung alin yung independent variable sa dependent variable. So, in implicit differentiation, remember na we have to differentiate it per term. Okay? So, we have to group it per term. And so, we have three terms sa left side ng equation. We have one term sa right side ng equation. And always remember na when you say, di ba, find y prime or dy over dx siya, di ba? We are differentiating with respect to x. Okay, and when we are differentiating with respect to x, ang derivative ng x is 1. Di ba? And ang derivative ng y is y prime. Okay, so always remember that. So kung we are, katulad nito, we are looking for y prime, which means we are differentiating with respect to x. Every time na nagdi-differentiate ka ng y, meron kang y prime. And huwag kayong malilito pag binaliktad, pag naman ang pinapahanap sa'yo is x prime or dx over dy, it means that we are differentiating with respect to y. And that means when we are differentiating with respect to y, ang derivative ng y is 1. And ang derivative ng x is x prime or dx over dy. Okay, so binaliktad lang. So huwag kayong malilito pagka ganun. Baka kasi may question na binaliktad na dx over dy or x prime na hinahanap, malito na kayo. So for this case, y prime yung pinapahanap. So let's proceed with the first term, x squared. Of course, ang derivative niya is 2x. And ang y squared, ang derivative niya is 2y y prime. Okay, again, katulad ng sinabi ko, every time na nagdi-differentiate ka ng y, may y prime. So basically, same lang din siya ng rule, di ba? Yung x squared naging 2x, yung y squared naging 2y, pero may y prime laging kasama yan. Kasi y is a function of x. Okay? Kumbaga, para mo siyang iti-treat as u. Diba? Pag, for example, nag-differentiate ka ng u squared, diba? It's actually 2u du. So, pag nag-differentiate ka ng y squared, it's actually 2y y prime. Parang ganun lang siya. So, wag niyong kakalimutan lagi yung y prime. And for this one, for this term, papansin natin, it's actually a product. So, we can use product rule. Wherein, ang u natin is yung x, ang v natin is sine of x plus y. So, we can let this as u, we can let this as v. Okay, so for product rule, di ba? Kung naalala nyo, it's actually UDV plus VDU, or the first term multiplied by, ay sorry, baliktad yung ginawa ko pala dito. So, okay lang naman yun. VDU times UDV. So, the derivative of the first term times the second term plus the first term times the derivative of the second term. So, ito yung unang term natin. Tandaan nyo guys, negative siya. So, kailangan nakaparenthesis yung negative sign. Okay, so ang derivative ng first mo, ng x, is 1. And copy lang natin yung v, yung second product, which is sin x plus y. Plus, ayan. So, kakopy naman natin yung first term, yung first product, which is x. And then, we need to differentiate sine of x plus y. And remember na ang derivative ng sine is cosine. So, in implicit differentiation, kailangan talaga may mastery kayo nung mga formulas for differentiation na tinakal nyo beforehand. So, we have here, if we have, diba, sine of u or sine of x plus y, sine of u, ang derivative niya is cosine u du. So, we have cosine of u or cosine of x plus y times the derivative of u. So, ang derivative ng x plus y is, again, ang derivative ng x is 1 plus ang derivative ng y is y prime. Okay, so kailangan master nyo yung mga formulas and yung chain rule, of course. Kailangan master nyo yung chain rule. Okay, and then the next step would be simplify natin or i-distribute natin. Siyempre, una, itong negative sign. Itong negative, distribute natin. That's why naging negative na tong sign natin. And then, ito would also be negative na rin pag distribute, diba? And then, let's distribute this one. Itong x cosine of x plus y, distribute natin siya dito. So, we have negative x cosine of x plus y, and we have negative xy prime cosine of x plus y. So, once ma-distribute natin lahat, for me, kahit yung mga fractions, ayan, tanggalin nyo na yung mga fractions. So, once na simplify natin siya in that form, the next thing to do is i-isolate nyo lahat ng may y prime. So, lahat ng terms na may y prime, lagay nyo sa isang side versus lahat ng terms na walang y prime, lagay nyo sa kabilang side. So, for this case, ito may y prime, right? And ito rin may y prime. So, we put it on the left side. In this case, ayan, 2y prime minus xy prime cosine of x plus y is equal to, lipat natin lahat ng walang y prime. So, it becomes negative 2x plus sine x plus y plus x cosine of x plus y. Okay, and then the next thing to do is, since nasa isang side na yung y prime, pwede na natin siyang i-factor out from here. Factor out natin yung y prime, we get y prime times 2y minus x cosine of x plus y. Okay? So, since na-isolate na natin yung y prime or na-factor out na natin siya, we can actually isolate it by dividing both sides by this one. So, makukuha na natin yung value ng y prime natin, which is negative 2x plus sine of x plus y plus x cosine of x plus y all over 2y minus x cosine of x plus y. Okay, so medyo mahaba lang siya and complicated, but as long as na-master mo naman yung chain rule and yung pag-differentiate, pag-simplify, you'll have no problem in answering implicit differentiation. Basta tandaan mo lang din yung concept na i-differentiate mo siya per term and always be mindful kung with respect to x or with respect to y ka ba nagdi-differentiate. Usually naman with respect to x tayo nagdi-differentiate. But baka lang kasi may case na bigla kayong pag-differentiate with respect to y and malito kayo. Okay, so for our second problem, we have e naman, lagyan natin ng exponential. E raised to x minus y is equal to y squared. So again, differentiate natin siya per term. In this case, we only have two terms, this one and this one. So, for the e, again, ang recall natin, ang formula for differentiating e raised to u is e raised to u du. Diba? So, we copy, ito yung e raised to u, then the derivative of your exponent, x minus y, diba? The derivative of x is 1, and the derivative of negative y is negative y prime. And for this case, y squared, the derivative niya is 2y, y prime. And i-distribute natin to. We have e raised to x minus y prime, e raised to x minus y. Then again, ganun lang, same steps lang lagi. Differentiate mo per term, then distribute mo lahat ng kailangan i-distribute, or tanggalin mo lahat ng fractions. And then, the next thing to do is, pagsamahin mo sa isang side lahat ng may y prime, and to the other side naman is lahat ng walang y prime. Okay, so ito na yon, lahat ng may y prime. And then, again, after that is factor out nyo yung y prime. So, we have e raised to x minus y is equal to y prime times 2y plus e raised to x minus y. And then, isolating y prime, we need to divide both sides by this. So, we have y prime is equal to e raised to x minus y over 2y plus e raised to x minus y. Okay, so that's gonna be our final answer. Pwede naman na yan. So, be mindful din sa pagsisimplify kasi there are times na you really need to simplify your y prime. Okay. And for the third problem, ayan, sinamahan ko na ng higher derivatives. So, in this case, second derivative yung hinahanap or y double prime. So, in this case, same concept lang. Diba? Pag nag-differentiate tayo explicitly, so, pag pinapakuha yung y double prime, you just need to differentiate it twice. So, in this case, gamitin natin yung concept na ginamit natin kanina for implicit differentiation to get y prime. And once we get y prime, we just need to differentiate it again to get y double prime. So, again, per term tayo, 3x squared would be 6x. Okay. Itong negative 4xy, we can actually use the product rule. So, we get negative 4y, diba? Derivative of x is 1, then copy y, so negative 4y. Then derivative of y is y prime, then copy x. Yeah, negative 4xy prime. And the derivative of a constant is 0. Okay? So, okay naman na yung form niya. So, we just need to put lahat ng may y prime sa isang side. Okay? Which is yung negative 4xy lang. Nilipat natin siya. It became 4xy prime. Now, we need to divide both sides by 4x. So, we can get y prime. So, we get 6x minus 4y over 4x, but we can divide it by 2 pa para ma-simplify. So, we have 3x minus 2y over 2x. Now that we have our first derivative, we just need to differentiate it again. So, kung mapapansin nyo, normal differentiation na lang siya, hindi na siya implicit. Diba? So, we have here a quotient. So, we can use the quotient rule wherein ang u nyo would be the numerator and the v would be the denominator. Therefore, ang du would be 3 minus 2y prime, which is just the derivative of this, and dv would be the derivative of v is 2. Okay, so using the quotient rule, we have y double prime is equal to v du minus u dv over v squared, or low d high, low times derivative of high minus high d low. Yung kasi usually low d high minus high d low. Low refers to the denominator and high refers to the numerator. Okay, so just substituting the values, we have v is equal to 2x we have v is equal to 2x, du is 3 minus 2y prime, u is equal to 3x minus 2y, and dv is equal to 2. Then we have v squared is equal to the square of 2x. Then simplifying, distribute natin lahat na kailangan i-distribute sa numerator. Distribute natin ito 2x, distribute natin itong 2. We have 6x minus 4x y prime minus 6x plus 4y, and then square na natin yung denominator, we have 4x squared. So kung mapapansin nyo, we have 6x and minus 6x, pwede na natin siyang i-cancel. Maka-cancel siya into 0. However, kung mapapansin nyo, sa sagot natin is merong y prime. Diba? So to simplify it, we need to substitute the value of y prime over here. Diba? Ito yung value ng y prime natin. Isa-substitute natin siya ngayon dito sa y prime. Okay, so we have this. Again, kinancel na natin itong 6x. So we have 4y minus 4x y prime. Ito yung y prime natin. All over 4x squared. Then we just need to simplify. Distribute natin itong negative 4x. We have 4y minus 6x plus 4y over 4x squared. And we have similar terms. We have 4y plus 4y would become 8y minus 6x all over 4x squared. Then we can divide it by 2 para mas masimplify. So we have our final answer over here, which is 4y minus 3x all over 2x squared. Yun yung second derivative natin. Okay, so that's all for implicit differentiation, and thank you guys for watching this video sa ating project Mathanong. And again, we would like to apologize na tatlo lang yung na-cater namin na questions ngayon. We'll try to accommodate more questions in the future. So just submit questions or concepts na gusto niyo pa i-discuss in our project Mathanong. And of course, like our Facebook page for updates about Project Mathanong, and of course our YouTube channel kung saan natin ipopost yung mga videos natin about this and our tutorials. Ayan, so subscribe kayo sa ating YouTube channel. So thank you guys for listening.